Hi guys, this is Meenu. Welcome back to my channel Storytale. This week I have read House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Crescent City series. The second book is already out and I do have that, but I will read it next year. So this is the book. As you can see, this is huge. Like, this is such a large book and it is almost 800 pages. Even I think more than that. I'm not so sure. Let me see. 803. So this is 803 pages and it took me a really long time to finish it. I'm not gonna keep it in my hand because my hands are gonna ache, that is why. So I'm gonna put it down and you can have the picture right here. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the premise. The premise is very confusing, so I'm gonna keep it as short as possible. So if you want to know more about the premise, just read the synopsis. So the story is about Bryce Quinlan, who is basically a party girl in this book. She has been said a lot of time in this book that she is a party girl, and she used to party with her best friend Danica. There were also other friends of her who were werewolves and some fae friends. Danica was basically a werewolf. She was about to become an alpha, if I am right, or she was already an alpha. But she was her closest and best friend. She really loved her. Both of them were very close to each other. They were roommate and everything. One night when Bryce was at the party, her best friend and every other friend that she had were massacred, and that totally changed Bryce's life. After 2 years, when Bryce thought that the murderer is finally behind bar, even though her life is completely changed, the murder or the way that Danica was murdered actually happened again, and that kind of made her question everything, every single motive of other person, and she had to find out the truth behind what actually happened to Danica. In this pursuit, the one that is helping her is Hunt Althahar. He is a fallen angel, but he's enslaved. There was this war years or thousands of years ago when he kind of was a rebel, so that is why he was punished for that, because that rebel or that whatever the group that he formed did not actually win. So every one of them were actually punished, and Hunt was punished too, and as a punishment he has to kill a lot of people in order to finally gain his freedom. We also get introduced to this last city, which is basically Crescent City, where many paranormal people are living with each other. Everything is open in this one, like the paranormal creatures are not in hiding. Humans know about paranormal creatures, and paranormal creatures, they walk among freely and everything. Humans are basically shown very less in this book compared to the paranormal ones, and we have this huge history and politics of this book, which is kind of very confusing, but it happens when you are reading a fantasy or a urban fantasy kind of a book. So it is supposed to be a little bit confusing. I can understand that. There are also other characters that you get to meet who are fae. There's also mermaid, there's also spirit, there's also sprite, I do not know. There's also other kind of creatures which we see in this book. There are also very powerful witches, werewolves, even I think there's 1 or 2 vampires if I'm not wrong. So there are like many kind of creatures that you'll find in the city or continent or whatever. Our main focus here is Bryce and Hunt. There's also another character in this book which I actually love, and that is Rue. He, I think, is a half brother of Bryce or maybe cousin. I'm not so sure anymore, but he's like one of my favorite characters. I really loved his dynamic. I really loved everything about him, like his thought process, his point of view, the way his character work, how he's the chosen one and he holds a lot of power within himself, so he's very powerful, and how much he cares about Bryce. Like every step of the way he cares about Bryce, even though Bryce is someone who actually hates him. I mean, she's not in in good terms with him, but still he really cares about her. He cares everything about her. So I really love that dynamic of it. I really loved Rue in this book. He's one of my favorite characters. I loved him even more than the our main female and male protagonist. There's supposed to be a love interest in this book of Rue, but I was not that much invested in it. There's this doctor or something, I do not know. I was not that much interested in that one. There are other powerful witches and people in this book. Like, our main characters are not the most powerful, at least for a very big chunk of this book. They are not very powerful creatures in this book. They are most of the time where you're gonna see the helplessness of the main character, so that is something good touch. Like I said, this book is 800 pages and you can feel those 800 pages. Like, it is such a long book and you can feel it. I've read similar big book of Sarah J. Maas, which was Silver Flames. times, and I loved that book. Even it was 700 to 800 pages, I did not care because it was such a good book. The storyline and everything was just amazingly done. That is why that book did not feel that big to me. But this one you can feel it, because you can feel that most of the pages, almost 300 to 400 pages of this book, was not actually worth it. Like, they were just traveling and everything, unnecessary things in this book which is not required. If this would have been a smaller book, like maybe around 400 pages, this book would have worked wonders for me. I would have loved everything about it, because I did like this book. I was invested in the characters, I was invested in the environment, the premise and everything, but it just felt too long. It was just such a big book which was not required. There was like a lot of info dumping, which is a little bit very much difficult to, of course, get around. But that is okay. I understand that happens in such a big book, but I understand that. But still, there were a lot of unnecessary plots, a lot of unnecessary twists, which was like a little bit confusing too. We get to uncover about Danika's death, and even about her as a person, which Bryce did not know about. We get to know a lot about Danika in this book, and that was good. And I loved that. But there were still a lot of things that was not necessary in this book. There was some conversation between Hunt and Bryce which was like not worth it. But there are certain scenes in this book that are done very well. Especially the first massacre that happened, where Danika and her friends dies. I loved that scene. I loved it because it was so sudden and everything happened like just like that. It was so at the beginning, so I loved that. And there were also many things in between that I loved about this book, and especially the ending. The ending is just beautiful. I loved it. There were also many things in between that I liked. I liked Ruh the most, or whatever scenes that he had, I loved it. But still, there was so much in this book which was actually not worth it. Now let's talk a little bit about the romance. So the main love interests in this books are of course Bryce and Hunt, and we get their love story. We see it develop from a kind of annoyance and hate or whatever to, of course, the love, and it develops very slowly because of course it is a big book. But even after developing it so slow, I still did not find that connection between these two characters, to be honest. I was like, okay, they are the main interest and they're supposed to fall in love. I mean, at least now they are the main love interest. So we'll see what happens in the next book, but I do not know. It was okay. I mean, it was not bad. I loved the ending and everything. And there are certain scenes which I actually loved. Especially, there's this scene of a bath and everything. So I loved it. And how Bryce's forgive Hunt for everything just because she loves him and everything. So I loved it. I loved those scenes. There are emotional scenes which I absolutely loved between these two characters. But I do not know why the love happened. I mean, yeah, they talk about their past and everything, but still, I was not connected to their love story. I was not that much invested in it. What I think was a wasted opportunity in this book was the love story between Danika and Bryce. The way Bryce feels about Danika throughout this book, how she was obsessed with her death and everything about Danika, I would have loved to see a love story there. Why couldn't there have been a love story between Danika and Bryce? I would have loved it. I understand friendship. Friendship is a very great bond. I get that. But Danika has been with her from the beginning of the book till the last. So like there was a lot of potential there to have this love interest, and it would have been more tragic, because she loved Danika. She was in love with her and everything, and then she died. So it would have been more tragic to see everything. I mean, friendship can be strong in everything, though at certain places I was like very much weirded out. I do not know why. I just thought that maybe Bryce was feeling way too much or something like that. But for me, I would have loved to see Danika and Bryce's love story. I would have loved it. It would have given it a little bit representation too, and that would not have been the main motive of this book. I understand that, but I would have still loved Danika and Bryce. I think they would have made a very beautiful couple, and it would have been very tragic. Like, she lost her love very early on the book, and then by the end of the book she find another love. So that would have been much more beautiful and much more wholesome, but we did not get that. I like this book in bits and pieces. I like it enough to read the next installment, but I do not like it enough to be one of my favorites. I'm gonna give this book 3 stars because this book has a lot to go, and I was in love with the Court of Thorn and Roses series, whatever the name is. Why does Sarah J. Maas has such a long name? I do not understand. When I first started this book, I thought that the Crescent City is the name of the book and House of Earth and Blood is the series name, but of course I was wrong. And even the name, you can see the name of the book is written just so small here, so it gets very confusing. The Crescent City is written in big letters and there's this big C also, but the name of the book, the actual name of the book, is written in such small letters, so of course it is very confusing. I do not know what the intention was, but whatever, the book is actually very beautiful. As you can see, it is such a beautiful book. I do love it. I really love the design of it and everything, though I do not understand what is happening here. But anyway, I think the book cover and everything is very beautiful, but still it is a little bit confusing. So for me, this is a 3-star read. I would of course love to give the second book a try, which is a very beautiful cover book too. I do love it. It came I think last year if I'm not wrong. So of course I'm looking forward to reading that, but I will read it next year because I'm getting married in December, first week of December. So of course I'm going to be very busy with everything, the preparation and everything, but still there are going to be some videos that is going to be up in that time. But after that I'm not so sure how many videos are going to come, because of course I'm going to be busy before and after the wedding. So of course it is a lot to take in. Anyway, do let me know in the comments down below what you think of this book. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are there anything about this book you like? Do you feel the same way that I do feel? I would love to hear about that. And I will see you next time. Have a great day.